Author's note. She had reached the abandoned field. Kate Chopin, The Awakening. When I was 22, I worked the register at a coffee house in Washington, D.C. The barista I worked with most often was my friend from Addis Ababa. He schooled me on how to bring in enough tips and taught me how to honor my food, count my blessings, and be a good waitress. We became close. One day, he didn't look well. I asked him what was wrong, and he told me that his mother in Ethiopia had died that week, and that her death was making him physically ill. Why, I asked. I didn't understand yet. Because, he told me. In my country, we scream. In my country, I would yell and let this feeling out of me. I need to scream. I need to wail. But if I wail and scream here, the police are going to come. I cannot release this pain, so I am sick. We need to wail. We need to scream, and if we can't, we need to find some way to siphon out the pain. Because grief is everywhere. It is in our coffee, poured by those who have suffered recent losses. It is on the news and in the subtext of our friends' Instagram feeds. Grief is as ever-present as sexuality, and it too requires a release, an orgasm for mourning, a pouring out of that which is contained in the body, ignored and not attended to. We are, as a culture, chronically grief-ridden. The question is how to grieve, how to feel, how to mourn without blasting to smithereens. Most of us don't have a script that allows us to release our grief, like the one my friend was taught, and even if we do, we often cannot honor it within new cultural milieus, living within systems of social codes that preclude us from our origin practices. So many of us were never taught how to grieve, who to speak to, what to do, or when to quit. Sure, the Bible says to sow in tears and reap in gladness, but whose priest or rabbi or guru sat them down and slowly explained what grief is, why it must be honored, and how to grieve? Not mine. With no model, no set of clear instructions as to how to move through the treacheries of loss, I had questions. What does it mean to mourn properly? How much grief is too much grief? What if you call on your friends, but they don't want to comfort you anymore? What is allowed in the process of grieving? Who decides what is allowed? If we are not all following one set of rules, what is appropriate? Is there a wrong way to grieve? It took me 4 decades to learn how to grieve. It took me 4 decades to build practices into my life that allowed me to honor my grief, not just through ecstatic crying, but through caring for my body, for my home, and tending to my feelings. Grief is a practice. This book is a map. This book posits the idea that grief is not to be recovered from, but rather prepared for. It is not predictable in linear stages, but rather a wild storm to ride out, to learn to navigate individually before the next and the next and the next grief arrives. Grief is a fact of life. In these pages, you will find ways to decode your own grief scripts, to pave new paths in your everyday life that will offer resilience. Where you see the word woman, it signifies those who inhabit this role in their lives, both cis and trans women, femme, androgynous, and non-binary folks, feminine of center and beyond. And where you see the word we, it is not meant to signify a common experience of race, class, and religion. Every person comes with their own layering of grief, culture, and oppression or lack thereof. We refers to the collective, to all of the people on this planet navigating loss, nuances, and all. A reminder, there is pain in these pages. Please tend to yourself as you pour through these words. Listen to your body, slow down, shut the book, do whatever it is you need to do to care for yourself as you navigate. We need to grieve. We need to get out of our own way. We need to feel the weight of sadness poured over our lives before, during, and after 2020. We need to do so because the joy and pleasure on the other side is the medicine of our times. We need to feel good, to come hard, to dance and to laugh because that's the strength that lights the way. Because life is short, grief is bittersweet, and happiness comes from actually leaning, feeling, and falling into our misery.